This is Bringing the Darkness to the Light with Catherine Nadal, professional psychic medium.
Today's guest is David Reece. Since the late 1980s, his charismatic voice has enhanced successful albums by Accept, Bangor Choir, Bonfire, and The Sainted Sinners, among others. In addition to this, however, he has continued to focus on his solo career. As the cover entitled Baptized by Fire already suggests, his latest album is significantly heavier than its two predecessors. 12 new songs full of power, mature, and varied. One reason for this is certainly his new band lineup. In his adopted home of Italy, he has found 3 highly talented creative collaborators with whom he is able to work on the songs around the clock, a paradise for a thoroughbred musician like Reece. It's a pleasure to have you on, David.
Greetings, Catherine, my old good friend. Nice to see you. Good old friends.
Thank you. Yes, I know. It's so interesting. I'm so excited, actually, because I was recently talking with the guys from Alcatraz, Gary and Jimmy. They were talking about their upcoming tour, and they're going to be doing a bunch of dates like in November, and their overseas dates, and they're adding girls' school, and they have you as well for some of those dates. So I figured we'd start out the conversation with the upcoming tour.
Perfect. You know, the new Bangalore Choir record, Rapid Fire Succession, On Target Part 2, is coming out October 24, 2025. I embark on the 26th, I believe, in France, headlining with Bangalore Choir. And then when I return, after about 10 days, I join up with Alcatraz and Girls School in mid-November into early December. So that's going to be pretty cool. We're kind of family. We all know each other. Jimmy and I and Giles and all the guys. I'm looking forward to that. It'll be a real comfortable, easygoing kind of tour. Kind of a lot of dates, like one day off, I think. And it's going to be rough on all the singers. But yeah, that's going to be a big one.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You know, I didn't realize, but when I was talking with Gary, he was saying that they had played with Girls' School going back to the early 80s. Just think about it. You know, you guys have been at it for so long. It's so great, you know?
Yeah. I mean, Gary and Jimmy were in the band, New England. They had a hit, I think, in 78? They had a pretty good chart success with one song, New England. And then, of course, they went on with Ingve to Alcatraz. But yeah, they've been kicking it for a long time. I got a lot of respect for those cats.
I'm a huge fan of your music and you as a friend, but I was laughing because I was telling a lot of people this week that I had seen Bruce Dickinson in Brooklyn at the Paramount, and I was telling them, did you hear my interview with David? I was like, David's got a great story about Bruce. And they were like, no, what's the story? So I was like, this story goes down. Like, it needs to really be told a million times. But, you know, Bruce came out on the stage at the Paramount. It's a completely amazing venue in New York City. It's in Brooklyn. And one of my friends told me, if you haven't been to the Paramount recently, like, it's the best venue in New York City. And I was like, oh, come on. And I could rattle off all the venues, you know, my favorite places. And historically, everyone says Radio City. And well, when I walked into the Paramount, I was like, wow. I mean, I was just like blown away. They have like stained glass and they have high ceilings. And it's like, it's really incredible. But you really feel like you're stepping back in time. You know, it's just Bruce hit the stage and he opened his mouth and everyone was like looking at each other like, wow, like no joke. Like he has not changed, like killing it. Yeah.
They don't tune down. Everything is in standard tuning. I mean, pretty much his range is high A and he gives it everything. The first time I saw him live was in Bochum, Germany with David Lee Roth, Kiss, and somebody else. Anthrax. And of course, Maiden headlined. And there was like 80,000 people in the stadium, pouring out rain. I was pretty much side stage, and they had all these stairways going up over the audience. Watching this man sing those songs, run up those stairs with a little monitor there, and lean out over the crowd, and run down the stairs and run across like a football field size, not even out of breath. And when he ran by, Nico would jump up in the air and kick his cymbal, like a ha ha, gotcha, and it was like he's in such spectacular physical and mental health. That kudos to him, beating cancer, flying airplanes, flying commercial jets. He's now the captain, I heard, of the American Olympic team fencing team. So, I mean, when I met him, he was the captain of the Bonn, Germany fencing team. So, I mean, what an extraordinary man. And can still sing like he did in 1980.
Yes. Yeah. I really was like blown away because I had seen Iron Maiden in the fall with my cousin Tommy and his family. And then I had an extra ticket for Bruce, and I said, Tommy, I have to invite you, you know. So Tommy was thrilled to go. But when we got there and we looked at the fans, we were like, wow, this is really true blue fans. I mean, every one of these guys, I mean, most of them could have been older than me, you know?
Yeah.
And they had their denim jackets on with all their patches. And
Oh, yeah. It's an
I was
army.
like, wow, it was really astonishing.
And the age, did you see a lot of
Yes.
really young kids? Did you see
I
like,
saw some young kids. There was actually a couple in front of us standing there, and they had brought their child, and they had headphones for their child.
Yeah.
But their child must have been about 7. And
Yeah.
everybody was stopping and like high-fiving the 7-year-old, you know, like you
Yeah,
don't see it so
yeah.
often, you know?
Yeah. It's I mean the Iron Maiden story is it's like Metallica or Pantera. I mean, I went to see the Pantera Metallica thing, and I was blown away looking at the crowd. There's like 80,000 people, and Pantera just killed it. And there were kids 10, 12 years old, and people up into I know they're in their 80s. Some people had walkers, and they stayed for both bands, Pantera and Metallica. So there's like 5 generations of people in this giant stadium, and I'm going, man, that is staying power. You know, I don't know what it is, but Maiden's the same. I mean, they worldwide, like AC/DC. I mean, it just you can't kill it.
Absolutely. Well, before we leave the Bruce Dickinson story, you'll have to just revisit your contact with him when you had to try out for Accept, because that story to me is just so classic rock and roll.
It's terrifying. I mean, even when you mention it now, it was like 1987, maybe. I remember it was my final audition for Accept. And unbeknownst to me, we had been rehearsing at this place called the Empire Club. It was a workout center, and they had like a rock club in it that held like 1,000 people and rehearsal rooms. So we started rehearsing there, and I didn't really know we were going to play the place. And one day I get told, yeah, this is your final audition. We're going to see how you handle the crowd. So they announced it, Germany's biggest metal band. And everybody knew that they had a new singer, media leaks and stuff. So we literally went across the street. It was in March. And across the street, there was a queue of people, maybe at least 1,000 people standing in the rain. Cold, Germany rain is in March. It's not pleasant, but these are true metalheads. They're there to see Accept, and didn't even say it on the marquee. Well, I'm sitting at the table with all these big wigs and record company guys, and I'm terrified. Going, well, I'm going home tomorrow. This is it. I'm not going to do this. Door flies open, and Bruce Dickinson walked in the door. Starts reaching across the table. Hi, mate. How you doing? Well, good to see you, mate. I'm looking, going, what is he doing here? And Gabby says, I thought I would ask Bruce his opinion of you live. I just invited him down. And he's wearing a tracksuit with the Olympic, fencing thing. And he's got a headband on and his hair tied back. And like, Bruce, like when he shaves in the morning, he's got the full beard. In the afternoon, he's one of those guys. And he was like, hello, mate. And he's like, how you doing? I was completely in shock. I'd never met him. I used to try to sing his stuff when I was a kid. And I remember doing the gig, the place went bonkers. And I looked at the soundboard, and he was standing there with his arms crossed. And I saw him talking to the manager at the soundboard. And I'm thinking in my mind, well, I'm done. I'm going home. What I found out later, what he told her was, hire him. And he left. He went home, went back to his flat in Germany. Said, what do you think? She goes, hire him. And he left. So maybe he was influential in my move in, but it was terrifying because, that's Bruce Dickinson. And you just said it. I mean, Paramount, his voice has not really aged that drastically, like most of us.
Well, I have to give you a huge compliment, though, because as unique as Bruce's voice is, your voice has its own uniqueness because
Wow.
really honestly, when I hear you, I flip back and forth between the different albums that you do. It's like, that's David. Like, you just know your voice. It
Thank
stands
you.
by itself, you know? But you know, my favorite album, 2010, Cadence, favorite
Yep.
album. But even when I move into your other work, it's like, that's David. Like, you could just hear the tone in your singing. And other people don't have that. I was a huge Accept fan. Sirius, I mean, is great for that because Sirius XM, you flip around, you go from the metal station, you know, they have all these different kinds. I heard Restless and Wild yesterday, and I was like, oh, wow, this is because I'm interviewing David tomorrow, you know? But, you know, even a song like Restless and Wild, like, you really got to sing some of these songs. I mean, they're just, you got to have a voice for it. It's just,
That's Udo doing that, and I've done it live. It is my hats off to Udo. I mean, he's got that thing, but I used to play it on my set, and it's as soon as I hit that first riff, the crowd goes bonkers. You know, I mean, bam, down, da 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 down, da down. You know, I mean, people know it. I remember that album when it came out, Fast as a Shark. All that was on there, and I remember being in Milwaukee, and it came out on red vinyl in America. And my friend burst through the door saying, "You've got to hear this band." And we're like, "Accept? That's a cool name." And we're all doing bong hits, right? In the morning, coffee and bong hits it by the fireplace in the winter. And he cranked it, and that Heidi, Heidi, hi, that German intro, and that scratch vinyl, and then him screaming, and then they were the spawn of speed metal. You know, honest to God, without you ask Hetfield, anybody will say, well, except, you know, Fast as a Shark. They spawned that movement, thrash metal, speed metal, and little band out of Zolingen, middle Germany, and then amazing. We were just sitting there like, do that again, play that again. Then we heard Restless, all those songs in that record. It was like, oh my God, what is this? You know, how you listen to an album and you picture what the people look like. You know how that is? You hear the music and you see the band, you're like, it creates another color, you know, of what am I listening to and what am I seeing in my head? I think you told me when you jog, when you run, you listen to Living Your Dreams every day. Is that the song that you
yeah,
listen to?
the Cadence 2010. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that meant so much to me because you told me you timed the run, and by the time you got to the end, that was the end of the track. And I told Andy Susumil that story, and he was like, "Whoa, that's cool, man." I go, "Yeah, she loves that track because we wrote it, Andy and I." And I listened to it after you told me that, and I went, "That's a pretty damn good song."
It's really good. It's really good. I know. But just jumping back to your Accept, that music, when I was listening to all of that music during that time, we were hanging out with like the bad kids in the neighborhood. And,
Oh yeah.
you know, we would all meet at PS 17, the high school, and sit on the staircase and smoke our cigarettes and, you know, with their boom box and their leather jackets. So every once in a while when those songs come on, I don't see the band in my head. I see the kids. I see the kids with their jackets and the boombox and sitting, you know. And they were bad kids. They would all gather around my small car and, you know, pick up our cars and put them on the sidewalk. I mean, they were like delinquent. I was like, wow,
Yeah.
this is perfect soundtrack for these guys.
What did you drive? What were you driving? A Pinto or something?
I had my father's Plymouth Horizon, which they did not pick
Okay.
up, but they picked up my best friend Cookie's car, and she had something which we called the Tan Lamb, and it was quite literally like one of those gremlin kind of small cars
yeah.
that was
Oh,
like
yeah.
a tan color, and it probably weighed like, I don't know, 1,500 pounds or less. I mean, these guys were just picking things up. It just went along with the music, and that's the piece of it, because a lot of times when we kind of go back in time, Facebook has regenerated a lot of these, you know, what we call our metalhead friends. And here in the New York City area, a lot of us were growing up going to Lemore's, and a lot of us were growing up, you know, north of New York City was a place called Streets and Lowdown, and those were like the local heavy metal clubs. And even the Chants in Poughkeepsie, which you know very well, I mean, they were playing these bands, and we were going and seeing them live. it was adding to the grow up experience. And even now on Facebook, people are like, do you remember seeing this band? Or someone will drop a picture and it's like, oh, this was taken right after this band played. So even though we're now in our late 50s, we feel 25 again, and we feel, 18 again. In a lot of these pictures, we all look different, but the music is what keeps us connected.
Yeah, that's the beauty of music. It's a moving art. I mean, even if you go back into the Bachs and the Mozarts and all those people, I mean, if you think about how it's traveled for centuries. But there is kind of a resurgence of the nostalgia of our era in hard rock and metal. I mean, I see it all the time. And I would like to talk about that. My decision, you mentioned earlier about my solo record, Baptized by Fire. I toured that pretty extensively last year. And, I started gaining traction with it. I got a lot of great reviews. I hit #1 in Germany with it for about a month. I mean, then the second single stayed in the top 10 for a while. And I was like, okay, this is cool. But when I went to France, which I never played, can you believe it? All the different countries I've been to, I never played France. So here I am in the south of France playing Bangalore Choir, Just One Night, Angel in Black, and a couple of Eat the Heat songs, and the crowd singing everywhere, going bonkers. And I'm like, what? This is weird. And the clubs are full. And they're like, well, monsieur, where have you been? I've been waiting 30 years for you. And I'm like, I don't know. I just kind of went around your country, for 30 years. But anyway, long story short, I was coming home and I started thinking about branding. My name is, like you said, people know me, but it's only a certain strength level, you know? And I started realizing every time I play those BC songs live, everybody knows them. Why don't I just focus on Bangalore Choir, call it David Reese's Bangalore Choir? One reason was Mike Tramp's Songs of White Lion. I started catching on to this nostalgic thing because you and you're talking about putting cars on sidewalks. Those memories are all connected to that time. And when I mentioned that to the management, they went crazy. Thank God. Because, they were struggling trying to get me on the big festival stages as a solo guy. But as soon as I put the moniker to it, boom, the door opened. And that leads us into the new album. I do know that I love what I did solo wise, but I'm like, man, I got to step over that next stairway. I've got to get, it's got to move. You kind of hover in one area. I want to go a little bit bigger, before I call it a day. That was the decision where that came from. Your conversation with Living Your Dreams. I mean, in France, they were handing me Cadence to autograph. I'm like, what? And they're going, oh, I love this album. And I'm like, you know this album? Oh, yeah, we. And I'm signing the first album and I'm signing the live album. I said, okay. And I had a real getting deep down in my heart going, what am I going to do? I've got to step out of this. And that was my solution, because those are good songs. I was told that after grunge happened, I think we talked about this, that I was on one of the biggest labels in the world, and I had one of the biggest management companies. I mean, literally 6 weeks after the album came out, I got dropped. And I was facing the Slip of the Tongue tour opening for Whitesnake, 40 cities, Asia and Europe. And literally to be told, you're going to do this. And then 2 or 3 weeks later, called in the office and said, it's over, we're dropping you. Get a life. I didn't know that Europe and UK, the grunge movement hadn't touched over here. It took 2 years. Had I known that, I would have drugged the band over here, kicking and screaming, said, let's keep moving, because we had a really big audience. And I didn't. I was told it's over. So you believe what you're told, right?
Yeah, I think, but I think that you mentioned a big point there, because back then, a lot of bands were listening to what was being managed by them. So you didn't feel that you can just, bust a move and do something. Now, I think a lot more people are doing kind of what they feel in their gut. And I think over time, between then and now, I think a lot of bands feel a little bit more independent to fight for themselves than they would have maybe 30 or 40 years ago.
You couldn't,
right? You couldn't. Yeah, exactly. Something has changed, like in 30 or 40 years, which I think is worldwide. And I think people found their voice where they knew where they needed to kind of in a way, like kind of advocate for themselves. It's the only thing that keeps you alive in some way or in some businesses. But back then, if someone said no, it was no. No one challenged anything. So I think that's a human thing. I think that's separate from whatever career field you're in. I think people have learned to have a voice over time.
Well, they kept you in a perpetual state of fear that we have the power to remove the carrot from your nose whenever we want to, and you will do as I told. It's slavery basically, and you'll have to pry my fingernails out of the door jam to get me out of the record company, right? I mean, kicking and screaming. But they actually proved that they had that power. But now, I heard something a couple of weeks ago. No is a full sentence, and I said, that's true. Had I learned to say no without fear of reprisal at one time, I probably would have been more successful because I would listen to these conjured up ideas that the guitar player would look at me and go, are you actually listening to this crap? What are they talking about? This makes absolute, I'm not doing that. Oh, you have to, Curtis. It's going to help us get big. We're going to get a hit. We're going to go on this tour. And he's like, I don't care. I'm not going to do that. I go, man, you got to play the game. And we fought constantly. And I ended up realizing years later, he was right, and now we're able to do that. I mean, everybody's making a record at home now, except me, because I can't. I polish my own turds when I sing. I think I'm great. And then play it for a friend. And somebody goes, man, that ain't Dave. Go in the studio. And I need somebody kicking me in the behind but things have definitely resurged. Babylon AD. Actually, I've talked to their management recently. There's a possibility that Bangalore and Babylon AD may tour together in the States.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, that's a perfect.
That would
And that was
be.
Brambold's
Oh my gosh.
idea. He put me in
Wow.
touch with their manager. I was like, and it was so funny because I was talking to their manager and I recognized his face. I go, I know this guy. And where do I know this guy from? And I said, I know you. And he goes, his last name is Maldovano, I think. And he goes, I was Joe Perry's lead singer in the Joe Perry project. And I said, that's you? And he goes, yeah, I'm the guy after Ralph Mormon after the first Joe Perry project record when Ralph was fired. I said, I saw you on tour with Hart. He goes, that's me. A small world, right? And his other agents in Nashville share. So we started talking and they're like, Brandvold had put that in their head. And I go, that'd be a great double bill. So fingers crossed that I'll be over there next spring.
That would be really great because they're doing they're actually right now in the UK and their tour actually ends in Greece. They're going to be in Athens on their last day. Mm-hmm. So very cool. I wanted to bring the audience back. So once you left Accept, how did you get invited into the Bangalore Choir band? How did that all come about for you? Some people may not remember that.
I was fired from Accept. Like every normal band, it came to blows in a dressing room in Chicago. On the Wasp tour, I won't go into details, not an action I would recommend because it doesn't solve anything. Left standing on a street corner in Chicago, went to Minnesota where I kicked off my career, wound up with this drummer that I knew. He said, let's go to LA. I'm tight with Stevie Nicks and her personal assistant. Let's put the band together and you got the momentum. Because prior to going to Accept, I couldn't get arrested, Catherine. Everybody's the lead singer and actor in LA. I mean, I was homeless. I was sleeping on floors, sleeping in cars. When I came back from Germany, oh, you're that guy from Accept. Oh, I really love your voice. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And people started recognizing me. So I said, I'm on a mission to prove that they can't destroy my life. But what everybody forgets about Accept is they hired me. You don't hire yourself. It didn't work out. So I had this momentum. I went out, started digging around GIT, found John Kirk, went through a pretty long list of guitar players that just didn't feel right. And he said, what are we doing? Let's get Kurt Mitchell from my band Razor Maid down here from Reno. He's amazing, and you won't believe how great he is. And no truer words were said. I walked into this little studio apartment, and he was set up playing and drunk out of his mind. And I was looking at the guy going, oh, my God, thank you, Lord. So we put the band together and start playing Hollywood, which is like once a month in Hollywood because there's so many bands. There's 10 bands a night playing the whiskey, right? So over a period of about 9 months, I had an offer from every major label in California. And I remember going to see Michael Schenker at the Palace because I was connected to the Scorpions because of Accept. And Herman, the drummer, had called me at my apartment. We stayed in touch for years. Hey, Michael's playing the Palace. Let's go see Schenker tonight. The boys are all in town too, the Scorp. So I told my band, want to meet the Scorpions? And of course they're like, oh my God, the Scorpions. And to me, it's like, that's how I was when I first met him. But after you see him for 3 months, you're like, hey, how you doing, Klaus? How you doing, Rudolph? So we go see the Scorps, or Michael and the Scorps on the balcony. I walked outside, and Kevin Moran from Giant Warner Brothers, which is a new subsidiary from Warner Brothers, from Irving Azoff, was coming out of the venue and said, hey, man, I hear things are really cooking for Bangalore Choir. You guys are going to be signing soon. I said, yeah, if you don't get in line, you're going to miss out. And he literally said, be in my office in the morning. Let's talk about a deal. So we went in the next morning and made a record deal. We were off to the races. No, but people think 9 months? Well, that's maybe a year, 9 months a year, but that's one show every 5 weeks, and you're flyering incessantly. You're going through the neighborhood of Hollywood, West Hollywood, the southern part of California. You're printing flyers at these Kinkos until 3 in the morning and driving around and just shredding neighborhoods that we're playing. But we built this following, like it was crazy overnight. Our record release party was at the Whiskey A Go-Go with KNAC. Dawn Mestry, rest her soul, rest in peace. She put it on. ABC in concert was there, Don Kirshner's thing. It was a big deal.
So what was the buzz at that time, like your record release? Like, how were they describing the sound of the band? Did they say they're heavy metal? Did they say they're heavy rock? What were they describing?
The new Whitesnake, I think we kind of got pigeonholed into the new Whitesnake because a lot of us got stuck in this David Coverdale emulating thing. You noticed over the late 80s, early 90s, 2000. Even myself, what am I doing? You talked about my vocal identity, and that really means a lot to me because when I started using the Hammond organ and the blues rock thing, I'm like, wait a minute, this is getting too Whitesnakey. But going back to the grunge thing, basically, I think we committed musical suicide because 81 was kind of the breakout year for Hollywood, right? Motley Crue, Rat, all those bands, and everybody had a bleach blonde singer with spandex pants and the big power ballad. So you get into like 1989, everybody's seen that, done that. They all look alike. Their hair is this big. It's just boring. And then you get this little gloomy town in the Northwest where guys are talking about, my dad's a heroin addict and he's in prison. And I'm raised by my mom in a single white trailer. And I'm writing songs about what's going on in my head. And I think it culturally, most kids can't relate to a guy in a video with 15 naked girls on stage. It's like you're some type of Alibaba chic in a palace, which is all an act. It's not real. But some guy comes in with a stinky t-shirt and messy, greasy hair, and people go, I know, I feel like that guy. So we committed musical suicide. But you just said it again, our age, we all grew up in that. We kind of miss it. So when we hear those songs, we're like, oh yeah, it revives that magic that we lived. Because I don't feel magic when I listen to Nirvana. I respect them. I respected Chris Cornell. And I still do to this day. Chester Bennington, those guys are amazing. Lane Staley, amazing singers. But there's not that, let's rock in the car, you know what I mean? Just saw Judas Priest in Italy a couple of weeks ago. Halford killed it. It was like, wow, I feel like a little kid again,
So true. I saw him live also, probably last year. He still comes out with the motorcycle on stage, and you're just like, wow, like his whole format has not changed.
Yeah.
And, he doesn't need to change anything. It just will always work. He's like one of those metal gods,
Yeah. It's funny because my friend Giles's band Warlord opened. Great opportunity for him. It's like 10,000 people outside. And it was 120 degrees, 90% humidity. It was miserable. And the band played great. And the fans really enjoyed Warlord. It's kind of a Manowar, hard rock. You know what I mean? Not my thing, but I respect those guys. We were able to kind of hang out with the Priest guys, but not rock. They keep him at a distance. And I know he's suffering, leg problems, and he walks with a cane. Everybody going to the catering, the band's coming out. And I was just hanging out with the band. Oh, it's Rob. And there's this mob of people walking next to him trying to talk to him. And he's got the white beard, the long coat, there's the metal god. And he just kind of had this aura about him. Like, wow. The way he just kind of walks around, throws his arms. He's very good on stage theatrically. The way he moves, talks to the crowd. And yeah, the Harley at the end. A friend of mine was sitting on the Harley backstage. Get a picture, man. We had to ask, I go, can we sit on that? Yeah, go ahead.
That's funny. I know it's very true, though. What you were saying before to me is so important, especially for the audience to kind of think back during that time when you're talking about bands like Nirvana and mentioning Chris Cornell and Chester and all of them. They actually started something which I call messaging, because when they were really getting big during that 90s time, it was what I call the pre-internet. Like, the internet was just really starting. People were really getting involved in computers and kind of the late 90s. Facebook wasn't really happening yet. People were starting to learn what MySpace was. But I think what they were doing with those kind of songs is they were creating messaging, sending a message about a topic or how people feel. The thing about the 80s and the hair bands and the stuff that we love, we knew the feeling of it, but there maybe perhaps wasn't much of a message to it. It was more of the feeling of it, but they captured the messaging. Even still, some of those bands, like you say Nirvana, some of them were depicting a life that maybe people could never have either. Some people do not have that in their life either, but it created an empathy that there are people that are struggling and that there are people that are related to people that have drug addiction and very heavy things in their lives. So in their own way of messaging, they were actually teaching. I think that's probably what kind of pole vaulted into more of what I call the new age messaging, Facebook, Instagram, all of that, because people are now talking about their real lives and their real struggles, very often paired with music. But the average American now has a huge voice that they never, ever did.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the pluses of social media. I could give you 50 negatives, but I think your point is really well taken. I mean, Nirvana were talking about pedophilia in their song. They were heroin with Alice in Chains. And ironically, the survivors of that era are Anthony Kiedis and Eddie Vedder, two of them. They're all dead. Scott Weiland, he's dead. If anything, I can say it was kind of like the 27 Club. They were living it, and it got them. The Amy Winehouse is all. You can send the message, but maybe you come around with the song and go, yeah, but you can fix it, right? It just seemed like it got really dark. I think our country, especially America, was in that darkness, and that's why it touched a nerve. And let's be real, some of those songs were brilliant, great rock songs that my family listens to. Chris Cornell, he did a show here a couple of years before he passed, just him and a guitar in a big Italian theater, and his voice is really good that night. And he's not even really talking to the audience; he's just singing. And I think the power of this guy. I mean, what did I miss? My wife listens to them. My sons, they go to see Slipknot, Corey Taylor. That's kind of big over here now. It's weird. It wasn't big like it was when we were going through it, but now there's like this resurgence of Korn and all this stuff. I mean, Lincoln Park just played here. 80,000 people on a horse racing track or a car racing track. My wife went with the new female singer. Now that's not a job that I would be like going, yeah, man, I can conquer this. I'm going to replace Chester, but everybody loves her. She handles it eloquently, sings great, and God bless them. I mean, 80,000 people singing your songs. That says something. Yeah.
That's amazing. I know. Well, just last week, Papa Roach played here in Long Island, Jones Beach, which is right on the beach. A lot of people like the venue.
My wife just saw him 2 weeks ago here.
Oh, wow. Well, they raised $230,000 for suicide awareness. It's just incredible because, again, messaging, we're now going back to how the power of the internet is to spread, educate, and make aware. So that's a positive thing. You're absolutely
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
But
I concur completely with what you said about
yeah,
the message before the internet. I've never heard anybody say that. That was great.
yeah, it's amazing. But these bands, Papa Roach, I mean, again, we're going back many years ago with them, you know?
What, 1988?
Yeah, I know. And it's amazing though, because when you started to rattle off those bands, I was like, yeah, Korn and all these bands, they're still around. And that's the great part of it because the younger generation may not have known them. Like Slipknot. If someone said, oh, you want to go to Slipknot, I'd be like, oh, who else is playing? You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like, but some of the younger generation just,
Feverish audience here in
yeah,
Europe. I mean,
that's
40,
amazing.
50,000. Yeah. And then Corey goes out, the singer, with no makeup, no mask, a white t-shirt and surf shorts and sandals, and does an acoustic tour and sells out 3,000 seaters, playing cover songs, Son Sour songs. And I've been listening a lot to him. I've grown to really admire him vocally. I mean, he's a force to be reckoned with as well. I mean, what I noticed with new metal, it's kind of doing what 80s metal did. You're getting this quantized process, and it's kind of going back. I mean, Dirty Honey just redid Rocksteady. They just released that from Bad Company. Blackberry Smoke just did a song with Paul Rogers, Running with the Pack. Incidentally, have you seen Blackberry Smoke?
No, I have not.
Do yourself a wonderful, grant yourself. You ever see Tom Petty?
Not live.
I'm telling you, I was in an audience in Italy and they played, place should have had 3,000, had about 1,000. Italians singing every word in English, a real organic rock and roll band, 25 years together. The atmosphere brought me back to like, this is the new Tom Petty thing. It's full circle. And songs about small towns, loss of love, hard work, things people identify with. Do yourself and your fans and your listeners, if you get a chance, that band, it's like Tedeschi Trucks. I mean, that band, I mean, they're spin-offs of the Allman Brothers, the whole family,
Oh,
Dwayne
wow.
Betts, the
I'll
whole
have to check
thing.
them out. Yeah, for sure. I wanted to make sure we get back to one of the highlights of this year. In July, I actually purchased the pay-per-view of Ozzy's concert. And
Oh,
I
yeah.
literally sat there all day and watched this. And of course, I had friends there. My good friend Rob Caggiano, he was there in person. Some other people I knew were there in person. But it was on a delay. Social media was reporting, and we were seeing things 2 hours later or whatever. But I could not believe the emotional response I had with every band that played. And then at the end, like watching Ozzy and the fireworks, and it was incredible. And then very shortly after that, he passes away. So, what was your experience with Ozzy or with any of the bands that played that last concert with him?
Well, I know Jake. When Ray passed, Badlands, we had done shows together, Bangalore. When Ray was towards the end, Ray was still singing great. I'd met Jake and I'd done some work with Greg Chason in Badlands, but seeing Jake that day walk on stage with Lizzie Hale and Nuno dropping to his knees and going like this, it's Jakey Lee. That spoke hugely to me. But what really got me the most about all of that, I play changes in my set. I have for a couple of years. And every time I play that, I just do it to the audience. Everybody sings it. I saw Youngblood do it. But what really got me about social media, you know how we lost Mick Ralphs, we lost Sly Stone, we lost all these mega stars in the last year. When Ozzy died, you and I are still talking about it. The impact that he had on the universe. Because you know how they say in Facebook or whatever, rest in peace. The next day it's like, what are we gonna have for lunch today? That bothers me. But something about Ozzy, all those guys on stage that just, man, I'm playing back to the beginning with Ozzy Osbourne. I mean, every one of those artists were influenced by him and Black Sabbath. That speaks, Priest opens up with War Pigs as their intro tape. And the whole crowd's in the field of mighty men. The whole audience is singing it. If you think about that, it really bothers me, because I've lost some heroes musically of mine in the last year or two that I thought deserved the same acclaim, but I'm wrong. Something about Ozzy. He hadn't done anything in 6 years, but it's almost like he knew I'm going out where I began. I watched Zach the other day talk about it. He said there are times, playing with Ozzy where Ozzy couldn't speak in the daytime. And he's like, come on, Oz, you can do it. He goes, Ozzy always managed to pull something out of himself on stage and give it to the crowd. He goes, I don't care how bad he felt, how strung out he was, how weak his voice was. Ozzy always managed to reach deep and go, there's Oz. There he is. I'm playing with my hero. That's Ozzy. So, yeah, if that makes any sense, I don't know, but
His voice that day was so incredibly strong. It was just phenomenal.
yeah.
It's kind of interesting because the internet now is showing like very short clips of either an interview or a question or a conversation. And I happened to catch a very quick clip of Gene Simmons from Kiss. And he said, I knew Ozzy for decades. He said, whenever I would see Ozzy, I would say, oh, hey, and I'd start rambling off all my accomplishments. And Ozzy would be like, how's the wife? How's the kids? Very down to earth. And he said, with Ozzy, the way he would talk to me, Gene Simmons, would be the way he would talk to his neighbor. And he treated everyone the same. And he said, if anything, I learned like humility, being humble from Ozzy. And when I watched that, I was like, wow, that's pretty incredible to have that reflection being Gene Simmons. Both of them have been around forever, and have made incredible movements in music, both individually, So I thought that was really a great perspective because Gene was actually complimenting Ozzy for something very non-music. It was very much very human versus being music related.
I mean, when I saw Priest, Warriors in the Sky, I think is the song, and there's a screen where Halford walked up, there's Lemmy and Ozzy and Dio, Amy Winehouse, all these icons, and he's kissing them on the LED screen while he's singing. And it was really touching theatrically because Ozzy had just passed, and I mean, Sabbath and Priest came from the same town. I mean, it's impactful and it's the it factor. The guy could sing the phone book with that sound. Actually, some of my merchandise, and I'll be honest about it, the purple and black really caught my eye again. And I've done some new merchandise that I'll be carrying in that purple with black. And that's my tribute to Ozzy and Sabbath. Because when I heard the first Black Sabbath album, I was terrified. It scared me. My friends, again, were in a guy's bedroom hanging out, and he played the first Sabbath album. I'm like, I'm scared. What is this? He goes, oh my God, it's Black Sabbath. And the girl on the cover, with the house behind with the green skin, the witch, it scared us. And then we started getting into Fairies Wear Boots, Oh, we kind of went along with the Sabbath movement. And then I saw him on the Never Say Die tour. I think it was. It was the end for Sabbath, and Van Halen opened. Oh my God. I saw God. I was like, Black Sabbath, who? I mean, Ozzy was cool with the fringe shirt and, jumping around. Come on, But that Van Halen, man, they were on fire. Matter of fact, I think they opened with On Fire. I didn't know the song at the time, but they destroyed Black Sabbath. It's our time. We're going to take the kingdom. But, Eddie always remained really respectful to Tony Iommi as one of his heroes. You're the reason I play guitar. It's a big deal for them, opening for Sabbath.
That's amazing. So I have to bring the audience back to your upcoming tour. Let's review this again. So you're starting out in November and you're going to be...
No, October.
October, okay.
Yeah. I headlined Bangalore Choir, David Reese's Bangalore Choir, in support of my new record, Rapid Fire Succession on Target Part 2. The first single, Bullet Train, is out. Doing extremely well, Catherine. I just hit #1 in Baltimore. I haven't had this kind of radio play in, I'm going to be honest, 15 years. And I know it's not like it was in the 90s and 80s, right? But the support behind the record and the songs and the outfit behind me at Brave Words Metal Shop, 97 Underground, all of these radio stations. I mean, North Dakota, Kentucky, all these places are playing the song on rotation. I'm so thankful for that. But back to the tour. How's that for an old man memory? I jump out and go on headlining in late October in support of the release, which is the 24th of October. Then I do that for like 10 days. And then I come home briefly, and then I join up with Alcatraz and Girls School, November into December. And then the plan is I go into the States. I might have a tour with another big band in February. And then my plan is April, United States, and like lots of shows. If that comes into fruition, great. And then I'm already booked on some pretty big festivals for next summer in Europe.
Okay, cool.
So-
Sounds great. So what about your social media? How do people contact you?
I'm an Instagram guy, David Reece and Bangalore Choir. I've created a new page there under the duress from some certain people at the label saying, we got to kind of freshen up your image, pal. So I rebuilt that. I'm in bands in town. You can go and find out all the shows. My new merchandise line is great. And I have to say, the artwork on this new album, the whole concept to redo Bangalore Choir, I knew, Catherine, I had to go back to the basics and listen to On Target and try to go back to 1990, what your brain was working like. The first attempts with my co-writer, Andy Susamil, him and I, was like 4 or 5 songs. I go, we ain't hitting it. But I think when we got to the next single, which will be Driver's Seat, we put that together. I said, I think we're on it now. Then Bullet Train came. And then the cool thing about the album is there's Act 1 and Act 2. There's 16 songs on this record because I had like 24 that I absolutely loved. So I was like, which one should I put on? I just gave it to Giles at Brave Words. I said, you pick the running one. The artwork, I do some work with a band called Goot out of Russia. And God bless them. It's really hard for them to communicate like you and I because of Putin and the war. So we kind of go around through the Netherlands and they contact me that way. And I've sang on a few of their records so I could put beans on the table during COVID. Well, the bassist is actually an Italian guy, Simon Zoot. They came to my house to visit one day, and I was telling them about this. I said, you see that first album, On Target? I've got to go back to that nostalgic look. What's the word they use for Rosie the Riveter, the woman, that kind of female artwork? I want to bring it back to that. And after about 4 attempts, Simon and I got it. It's killer, the album cover. You can see it on my page, but I'm easily reachable. I love to talk to everybody. And you and me, we've been friends, 20 years?
Yes, at least, yeah.
Last
Very
time I
cool.
saw you was at the Chance.
Yes.
Last time physically?
Yes, physically at
Chance?
the Chance. That's right.
What, was that a Y&T show? Was Tango down in Y&T, and I turned around at the merch booth, and you were
That's
standing
right.
there. And you said, hi, David. And I go, wow, Catherine.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you again for being on the show. It has again been an amazing pleasure. We look forward to seeing you on your upcoming tour. We'll be rolling out with one of your songs.
Great. Thank you,
right,
Catherine.
good.
And
Thank
tune in
you.
to Catherine.
Thank
Support
you.
Catherine Nadal.
Time flies by and I remain lost in thought but not in name. Lightning speed.
You have been listening to Bringing the Darkness to the Light with Catherine Nadal, professional psychic medium, Dream Central Station, LLC. My audio editor is Al Hemberger at the Loft Recording Studios in Bronxville, New York. This is WNEW 102.7 FM radio.